Hey, what's up? I'm Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to discuss approximately 25% of the battle, because we all know knowing is half the battle, and the other half is blue lasers and red lasers. We're talking about the blue lasers. We're talking about Cobra. That's right, it's Cobra Convergence 6, and this is a time where the G.I. Joe creative community gets together and discusses Cobra. So it's been a while since I've reviewed a G.I. Joe Classified Series figure. The last time I did it was version 2 of Scarlet. That's right, the redeco that fixed a lot of the nerfness of the first version of the figure. And in this one, we're going to be looking at a Cobra figure because it is Cobra Convergence. So we're going to look at a figure I just got in the other day, and that is the Cobra Battle Android Trooper, or B.A.T. And this is a classic inspired figure, so it's really cool to get this in the classified line. So we're going to open this figure up and take a look at it. We do have the figure visible with all the accessories included. This is a pretty close translation to the original Series 5 G.I. Joe Real American Hero figure, which I believe came out in 1986, if I'm not mistaken. We do have the artwork on the back of the packaging that we've been seeing for a while now, artwork on the side. And I did not send away for my Little Orphan Annie decoder ring to figure out what these mean, but I believe it means drink your Arbco Ovaltine. All right, let's open up the package and check out the figure. All right, there is the product tray. All right, so we have the figure outside of the packaging. Let's take a closer look at the accessories. We have a backpack that is molded in black plastic. It does have some detailing on the sides, as well as positions to hold the accessories, which is awesome. Has a back peg on it, and this is exactly what we want to see, is a pretty close mirroring to the original series. I do like how this G.I. Joe Classified series has stayed pretty true to figures being able to utilize all or most of their accessories. That's a very welcome addition. As with the original version 1 figure and version 2, of course, we see different hand style accessories like the claw. Pretty sure this is supposed to be some sort of a laser blaster, or you could imagine it's a drill or some sort of sonic tool. And then I think we have, this looks like an ice skate. No, it's probably a blaster of some kind as well. Maybe a grenade launcher. And he does come with a sidearm. All these accessories are molded in silver plastic. He does include an alternate head with a monocle. And that does peg in. In addition, this bat comes with 2 pieces that are designed to go over the chest plate, the exposed wiring that you see on the figure. This one is undamaged, and this one is battle damaged. Worth noting that it is die cut essentially, so you can see directly through, and that's pretty good detailing for battle damage for this figure. Looking at the figure itself, this is a very nicely detailed figure. We are staying very faithful to version 1 of the figure, which I think a lot of collectors of the Classified series appreciate, myself included. Looking at the figure detailing, we do have a head that is painted with silver highlights. It's mostly black plastic. You do have silver detailing that even extends to the side of the helmet. Looks like a vent piece there on either side. In addition, you have grills that are painted silver, as well as the visor piece. There is a slight paint imperfection on my example here, but overall it's pretty clean. On the chest, we do have this exposed wiring. I do think that this is maybe one of the weakest parts of the figure. It looks a little rubbery as far as the detailing of the paint goes, a little too glossy. I would have preferred a matte paint here. That's something you could possibly fix with a acrylic matte clear paint. I've seen people do that on figures before. That might pay off here. You do have 2, they look like grenades to me, but maybe they would be some sort of spare parts for the bat. On the arm, you do have the Cobra insignia that is painted in orange. That's a nice touch. For this figure, on the arm details, you do have the metallic lower arms there. They're both with the gun grabbing hands or gripping hands. I think it's appropriate considering that all 3 extra hands for this figure did feature, you know, a different claw type of or blaster type of attachment, so that's appropriate. Looking at the back of the torso, we see some detail where the backpack pegs in, and that is painted again with some silver paint, as well as the collar. That's some good detailing. That orange paint for the, I guess that would be the connection between the parts of the torso for the actual in-universe bat, and that's appropriate. Ab crunch is decently well hidden behind the, or beneath the plate there. That's pretty good. We do have good detailing on the boots. I like the paint applications there. I think they are appropriate. You have a little side pocket on one of the boots, and that is mirrored on the other side. I do like the asymmetry on the figure here. You do have the orange belt Again, it has a utility pocket on this side, as well as some sort of box. Now this belt right here is loose, but it's pretty tight to the actual figure, so you can't move it very easily. You could probably work it loose. The orange part of the belt is not really connected in any way that I can tell here. And it does have paint applications, which is nice to see. And you do have a holster for the pistol. Pistol does fit into the holster. And it goes most of the way in and will cover the trigger guard pretty easily. I think if I forced that in there, I could probably get in there a little bit more, but it would be nice to see it completely cover the trigger guard, as that's what a holster is supposed to do. As far as our articulation goes for this figure, you do have a head that can look down that far, look up that far, not very far. The collar there prevents him looking up too much. You do have an ab crunch that can go all the way back, as well as most of the way forward. Arms are not on a very positionable butterfly joint, but there is technically a butterfly joint there. They can rotate all the way around. Elbows can bend a little bit better than 90 degrees. The wrist is at a hinge, but it does not swivel up and down. Same thing for the other one. This figure does feature drop legs, so you can give it the full splits if you wanted to. Although the holster is going to partially prevent that. Still, that's pretty good. And then you have to pop the legs back in to get those back up. As far as the knees go, those are double jointed. He can definitely kick his own butt there, or at least above his butt. His legs are actually pretty long. There is a thigh cut. You have a lower leg cut at the calf. His feet will hinge, and there is a rocker there as well. All right, let's take a look at how the accessories actually work with the figure. The backpack does port on. It's not a super tight connection. That peg doesn't go into the backpack or into the back of the figure all that much. And you can see through the different holes in the backpack there. So that's something to keep in mind. As you can see, the accessories do attach onto the backpack. But again, that backpack does want to fall off. That's a little disappointing to see. However, it looks really good once they're all on there. Very appropriate for a bat. As far as these front chest plates go, they do snap on very satisfyingly. And the battle damaged. It's probably my favorite version of that. That is nice though, because this is obviously an army builder. So if you were to have several of these figures, you could have them in different configurations to really show variety. And there is an alternate head. This version of the head is obviously, you know, that monocle is the exposed eye there. It is battle damaged. I think that's an appropriate use there. So let's take a look at a fully battle damaged version of the Battle Android Trooper here. And for added effect, you could remove a hand. Speaking of removing hands, let's check out the different hand accessories. They do port in nicely. And obviously they pivot on that joint. There's the drill, which is kind of what I think of that as. And the accessory that I associate with the bat the most here is this claw hand. And that does work nicely. In addition to that, since you do have the option of putting either hand as the gun-wielding hand and either hand as one of the accessories, you can have the trooper hold a pistol or another different accessory if you want in that hand. Plus he has the claw hand already, which is very nice. So here you have the trooper essentially fully kitted up. I do think that there's a lot of different options for this particular figure. The cool thing about this too is depending on how you have other versions of the bat assembled in your army, you know, some could have their holster filled with extra troopers, extra sidearms. You know, different ones could have different combinations of the chest plate here, different combinations of the attachments on the arms, different combinations of the heads. There's a lot of different stuff you could do there, and I really appreciate that. So I think this is a really top-notch interpretation of the version 1 of the Bat. I think, you know, from pretty much all angles, you're definitely getting that this is a Cobra Bat. Absolutely, no question about it. Here's the Bat side by side with a Cobra Trooper, as well as the G.I. Joe I could see tearing through an absolute army of these in Snake Eyes. So I think they really knocked it out of the park with this figure. This is exactly what I want to see from the Classified figure. I don't mind the updated versions of figures that are a little bit more updated to that modern aesthetic, modern look, adding layers to the plastic, because these figures are now larger, so we get to see more detail, and it'd be odd if they were completely plain. I'm okay with that. I do think the texturing on this figure is pretty nice because it is subtle. I do think it's a little glossier than I would have liked, but considering that many parts on here are supposed to be metal, I suppose that's forgivable. In general, I would enjoy a more matte look to the paint for this line of figures, as it catches the light in a more interesting, realistic way to me. Dad, is that you? Mommy? So I definitely have to say, I think this Cobra Bat is one of my favorite Cobra army builders that we've seen so far. And that's saying a lot, because we've actually had quite a few Cobra army builders. We've had Red Hand Ninjas, we've had Vipers, we've had Python Patrol Vipers, we've had Cobra Officers, Cobra Infantry, quite a few different figures at this point that can qualify as a Cobra army builder, and this one is still very good. Now, bats in G.I. Joe media were definitely featured in different ways throughout time. We saw them created by Dr. Mindbender, and they were used usually in a sort of suicide attack, which makes sense. They're robots, right? Things like them ambushing the pit was really a cool storyline that we saw them involved in. They were kind of seen as sort of cheap throwaway Terminators, and that is something that is truly terrifying about the Cobra Bat. Thinking about how a modern interpretation of this character would be, I mean, picture that unstoppable Terminator with, like, you know, Dura steel or some sort of made up metal that's usually involved in the construction of these things, and they can usually take a licking and keep on ticking. But bats, as they were usually portrayed in the real American hero era, were more like battle droids from Star Wars. They were, you know, a walking gun essentially that could do things like self-destruct or explode, which could sometimes be interesting in the threat, but normally, let's face it, they weren't very imposing. I imagine this new generation of bat was conceived by Dr. Mindbender, but perfected by Destro, and therefore they would be a little bit more deadly. Thank you for watching my review. I am curious if you'd let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel like this figure stacks up against other figures in the G.I. Joe Classified line? Where do you personally rank the Bat amongst your favorite Cobra soldiers? For the record, mine will always be my favorite, the Crimson Guard. Lastly, I just want to say I'm really honored to be a part of Cobra Convergence 6. I think this is a fantastic and fun fan event for content creators revolving around G.I. Joe and, more importantly, Cobra. And it is organized by Hooded Cobra Commander 788, who runs a fantastic YouTube channel. If you're watching this, you're probably familiar with him already, but if you're not, go check it out. And if you want to be part of Cobra Convergence 6, I recommend going to hcc788.com and checking out the info for joining Cobra Convergence 6. And as always, I want to remind you, hey, 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 hail Cobra every day.